Hello and welcome. My name is Kyle, and this is How You Level Up, a podcast that decodes language to help you become your best self. Today we're going to be speaking with Pia Mailhot-Leichter. Pia is an artist. She's a storyteller. She's a best-selling author, a certified coach, and an entrepreneur. Her path has been anything but ordinary. She's reported as a journalist in Sri Lanka, graduated summa cum laude from NYU, produced an economic documentary in Bahrain, and worked as an award-winning creative director for some of the biggest brands in the world. Now, she's the founder of Collective Studio, and she's helping people to bring out their creativity, to join the Creative Club. Her newest book is Welcome to the Creative Club, Make Life Your Biggest Artwork. And I really enjoyed the book. She is a fascinating individual, and I think you're going to enjoy this episode. So let's start then at a little bit of your origin. First of all, you wrote an incredible book, Welcome to the Creative Club, and you do share a lot of vulnerable stories and parts of your life that perhaps others might be a little hesitant to share about themselves. So I'll unpack that a little bit with you here today, and I wanted to begin with something you wrote in the book, that your dad didn't choose art, art chose him. And so you hoped, you said in the book, that you wouldn't also be picked to become an artist. Take me back to when you realized that you were an artist.
Oh, how beautiful. The question. I think I'm still realizing I'm an artist. I'm still kind of in a process of reclaiming that part of myself and owning it. But I remember distinctly a period not too long ago in my life where I had like an epiphany. Like, I'll take you back a little bit for this to give you context. I worked as a creative director, copywriter in creative agencies for well over a decade, probably 15 years. And I had like this itch in my last agency. It was actually a purpose-driven creative consultancy, like this burning question that would keep me awake at night. What would happen if you channeled your creativity into building your own damn business, into your own dream? And I was like, quiet. I don't know what that would be. Where would I even begin? What would that even look like? And I was in a cushy, safe, good on paper, good enough job. So the unknown, what was on the other side, felt both exhilarating and also frightening. Mm-hmm. So I stayed put for a while until my mom suddenly passed away in 2021, and she really gave me a shot of courage as one of her passing gifts. Made me realize, what am I waiting for? Life is finite. Got this one, it's a limited series. I got this one chance to design a life that feels really alive, and where I feel alive in it and fulfilling and creative. Why not? Why wouldn't I do that thing? So shortly thereafter, about a month later, I quit and I launched Collective Studio. And I had this like epiphany of like, oh, of course I don't only have to direct my creativity at building other people's businesses. So I do that still, but it just felt like I could also do that for myself. Fast forward maybe 2 years, year and a half later, where I got the call from the hybrid publisher, the founder. It's like, hey, have you ever considered writing a book? I thought, well, yeah. Again, I have no idea what I would write about or where I would even begin. Luckily, I had created evidence that that's okay. I mean, the way that you find out is by walking, right? Mm-hmm. Is by doing the thing. And so that wasn't as scary as it felt the first time. But then another epiphany kind of occurred in that moment. I was like, hey, wait a minute. I don't only have to channel my creativity into building commercial ventures, right? I can also channel my creativity into just creating art with the intention of making an impact in someone's life. Oh, it was just another one of those big moments. For some reason, I didn't realize that there was some kind of limiting belief that was still there, that my creativity had to also have, commercial success or to have some commercial impact in order for me to be able to do it. I don't know, that was lurking about. And I only became aware of it when I took action in a different direction. And then it became more evident to me, like, oh my God, this idea was here. Because of course I can. Of course I can channel my creativity into creating art. Like, yeah, hell yeah. And so I think that sort of really kickstarted this reclamation of my not only creative self, I think I had since I was a kid, but sort of my artist, that I am too an artist, that I can just create to make art.
Yeah.
So that's my long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah, it's great. No, the long-winded answers are welcomed today. So your father, as an artist, right, you had some sort of model for you. He was very successful at a certain point in his career, and he was at the MoMA in 1972, and he struggled sometimes with the business side. So where is it that you picked up some of your business acumen? Where is it that you learned from somebody else, hey, not only can I be an artist, but I can also apply this to ventures that will lead to a revenue stream?
Ooh. Well, I was in the quote unquote agency world. So I saw how creativity could be applied to solve tough commercial challenges in a multitude of different ways, everything from above the line campaigns to digital campaigns to strategy work to branding, identity work. And so that was done within an environment. It's like, wow, I get to do what I love and also earn a great living. This is fantastic. And it was beautiful while I had it. It was a part of my journey. Starting my business, that was a baptismal by fire in terms of, okay, well, when it's for myself and I'm not in a corporate environment, what does creating different revenue streams look like to me? And how do I also want to operate? That's very important to me. There's a lot of focus on why, which is of course very important, like our purpose, why we do what drives us, why we do the things we do, why we build the businesses we build or create the art that we make. But sometimes I don't think there's enough focus on the how. How is very important too. Like, how do we want to build these things? How do we want to feel while we're building? All of that. And for me, that was a big learning about not only creating new revenue streams, but how I wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it in the speedy, fear-ridden way that I think I had been doing it previously. I wanted to do it differently, and changing that energy changed my experience of creating new revenue streams. But it was learning by doing. So doing things, also having a community of other founders and people that were doing their own thing, sharing war stories and heavenly stories, and just trying and experimenting. I think that's really, and then also figuring out what works for me.
So I grew up with two parents of different religions, and so did you. And so you talk about celebrating Chrismica, combination of Hanukkah and Christmas. And when you look at your mother's background and your father's background, and you try to blend the two, how is it that growing up you were able to find a blend of those two different cultures? And how did that shape your identity?
The blend just came naturally. I don't know if I did it. It just happened because of coming from two different backgrounds. It wasn't only two different religions. It was very much two different cultures. Like French Canadian Catholic is very different from Eastern European New York Jewish. Yeah. So this is like also learning to navigate, which is a part of my story, across, different cultures and how to also show up successfully. And that also came from moving. I moved around a lot, but it taught me a lot about that. And I remember though, yearning to belong to something for a really long time, very, very long time, and trying to find that something in so many different ways until I found that I belonged to me. However, simple that sounds, there's a beauty to it. Like, I don't need necessarily to belong, even though the yearning is still there, like a big tribe in order to be connected to people and to myself. And maybe that was part of, I ask my clients often, like, what's the 2% gift in the shit? there's always a 2% gift. There's always a gift. Sometimes it's 2% because it's hard to see when you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
But once you see the 2%, then it multiplies. You're able to see 20 and 40, like, oh, so the 2% or 40 or 50, whatever the percentage is in the shit of that was I learned how to connect with many different types of people because I yearned to have that connection because I didn't feel it in my world of my own culture, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. The external validation.
Exactly. So I think I learned to seek it in different ways, and that resulted in me learning how to build connections deeply and richly with other people from many different walks of life. So that was a gift. And the other thing it gave me was there's a Groucho Marx line that's, I don't want to belong to any club that would have me as a member.
Oh, interesting.
I really love that line. You can really unpack that one. But anyway, it showed me like religion in many ways. It's like they're exclusive clubs, right? And if you don't have the membership card to one club, there are dire consequences, right? You go to hell forever or something. And it made me feel like, okay, I'm not sure I want to be a member of anything that's exclusionary. I would rather be open and free and not necessarily have that membership because it gives me freedom. And also, I don't know if I necessarily believed in that. I still don't. I don't believe necessarily in organized religion. I mean, everyone should do whatever they want to do. I'm more of a spiritual approach to it. So I think it also gave me that. Like, I know what it's like. My dad's Jewish, so a lot of Jewish people that I would meet over the years would say, I'd say I'm half Jewish, and then say, what half? Inevitably, because I was the wrong half. It's your mom. It's matrilinear, right? So after being told what you're not for so long, you start to develop your own sense of who you are and where you belong. And actually, you have a passport to everywhere because you don't belong to any particular specific distinct club.
Right.
So there's another gift. So I think those are some of the things that it gave me and taught me.
Yeah.
What about you? What are your two religions? I got curious.
Yeah, Mormonism and Judaism.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it was definitely.
What did it give you?
A little bit of the same. Yeah, I'm finding a lot of parallels in what you're saying to my own life in terms of growing up with two religions. It was always very interesting when Dad didn't have to come with us to temple. And I would be curious, like, well, why doesn't he believe what we believe? Doesn't he understand that we're supposed to go on Sundays or Tuesday or whatever it was? He should come with us because this is what is right. And it sort of put like X-ray glasses on, where I saw through some of the things that others just presumed were always the correct way to do things because it's cultural, because it's tradition. And I too don't believe in organized religion. I believe in some sort of higher power, but who are other people to tell me what that higher power is? Everybody experiences it in their own way.
Couldn't agree more. And I did for a while float. I remember I went to a camp in Long Island, and I would switch every week. Like I would go to the Jewish. They had a rabbi that would come, and we would sing songs and do things. And then I would try the church another week. I would do like all different countries. You're like, okay, what's going on here? You know? So it also inspired a sense of curiosity and a deep longing to belong to something that led me to myself and other people in wildly unexpected ways.
Yeah. You mentioned passports, traveling. I'd like to get into that for just a moment here. So let's travel to Mongolia. You're climbing nearly a 1,000-foot sand dune with your guide. Tomke, is it?
No, she was the German anthropology. Is it anthropology? Geology. There you go. Geology student.
Okay.
German geology
student. Mixing up
traveling.
Some of your stories.
That's okay.
Yeah. So Tomke, you're traveling with her, and you use this technique of taking 10 big steps and then taking a break. Is this something that you learned as an approach, or is this something that came to you intuitively?
It just came to me intuitively because it was a really high climb. And I remember our guide was also there, but he was used to it. So what he pointed at the top, because he spoke Mongolian, a tiny bit of Russian, and no English. So we did a lot of body language. And he would like point at the top and go, really high with his arm, with his hand, like really, really high, like, and then just go, you sure you want to kind of do it with his hands? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. I just knew that it would be an experience. And that was just an intuitive way of like, okay, look, we just take a few, then we rest. We take a few and we rest, and we're gonna get there in the end, before we feel like quitting. And then let's try to like sing, or let's try to listen to the dunes singing, or let's try to have a minute of just having levity, I guess, in it, if possible. We get to laugh at the sand in our mouths.
Oh God.
and like this moment, and it was phenomenal when we reached the top. It was well worth it. Like the view was like all the sand dunes you can imagine. Like you can see it on the other side when you're up, like below that mountain, and the sun was setting just as we reached the top.
Wow.
And it was one of the most glorious things I've ever seen in my life, nature wise. It was just stunning. Mongolia is a beautiful country. It's the expanse of it is just whoop. You really feel like you're on Earth, and it might sound weird, but you really just feel like, wow. And there's not a lot of people either, so it feels like you're transported in time. So it was well worth the effort, just to enjoy that. But we also got to enjoy the climb, even when it was hard.
Yeah,
I think that's important.
Yeah,
because that lasted longer than the view.
Yeah. So, what about when you were in Beijing? We have, you checked a bag, the bag gets lost, and you start this 4-week journey without a bag. How is it that you were able to release, all of my belongings are now gone. I have nothing on this trip except what's on my back.
I fought a little bit before I released it because I couldn't believe it. I had meticulously packed this, backpack. I rolled up, t-shirts in like burrito style. I had things in Ziploc bags with like labels on it.
Oh.
The bag also had a zipper on the bottom because I knew I would be traveling for like, I think it was almost 5 weeks, across different landscapes. And so I really did my best to set myself up for success. And when I was in Beijing and I was just watching the carousel and seeing all the bags come, and then after half an hour, I'm like, my bag's not coming. And going into the Air China office, the guy was very nonplussed. I'm like, my bag is in here. He's like, well, you can just fill out this form and we'll send it to you. I'm like, can't send it to me because I don't know where I'm going to be. And so there was a bit of, at first, non-acceptance or like pushing back, and then there was just a surrender. I mean, I didn't really have a choice, right? It's just like, it's not happening, so just it's not happening. And it ended up being another one of those gifts in the shit, because it was heavy. A 35-pound backpack is heavy to carry, and I think it's there's a metaphor in there somewhere of leaving behind the things. So it was kind of the universe being very poetic with me, or maybe hitting me over the head with it. And so there was no choice but to surrender and to say, okay, well, I'm going to figure it out. And I remember walking outside the airport into like the shining bright light of Beijing with all of its scent of like tobacco and the sound of, chickens on a bike, and then these huge billboards, digital billboards. And just, I felt so much awe and like wonder and also happiness at being in an entirely different place. And all of a sudden the lost backpack felt like an adventure. And I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. I need to get some underwear because I wasn't smart enough to pack. Like, some people have like their emergency stuff with like underwear and a toothbrush. I didn't do that. So, I've made my way to Zara to find a pair of shorts, and Miniso to find underwear and a toothbrush. And, I got by for 5 weeks with not a lot. And I was fine. It was such a beautiful reminder. It really, really was. You don't need much. You really don't.
Yeah. What about on your 10-day silent meditation retreat? You wrote about finding a way to sit with pain and then realizing that suffering comes from massed experiences or massed expectations of reality. So how is it that you're taking your pain and sitting with it? And is there something that you learned on that silent meditation where you're still using it today? And I'm asking both for the audience and for myself as somebody who does have a chronic pain. inside of my hip. I have a broken back. And so every once in a while, if I'm inflamed internally, I'll feel pain. So what is it that you learned on that retreat?
Well, just two things. The first, what Goenka, who was like for lack of a better word, I'm going to call him a spiritual teacher. I was going to say guru, says you get to listen to videos at the end of every day, which are of him speaking, and he's like telling you what you can expect, which is really helpful. And he has a sense of humor. He has passed on, so that's why videos. He has a sense of humor, which helps. And he said something that really stayed with me. That's all sources of unhappiness, are the result of not accepting things or people as they are. That really landed. It felt so profound. Like if I look back at my life, a lot of source of aggravation, sadness, disappointment all came from me not accepting life, things, circumstances, people as they were, and not being able to see things as they are. That was the first thing I just wanted to bring up before we go into the pain. And to this day, that stays with me. Is if I catch myself getting really frustrated or feeling down about something, it's usually because I'm not accepting this. Like, okay, this is the way it is. It doesn't mean it has to stay that way, but first there's acceptance. And without acceptance, there can be no change, because how can you change something that you don't accept? So first I have to see it. I have to have the courage to see it for what it is. And then I can make conscious decisions about how I want to be with that. So that stays with me. The pain part was without me realizing it. I think for many years, I ran from my pain. It wasn't physical pain. It was just, the pain of my divorce, pain of things that had not really, that had hurt. And maybe I haven't really processed because I was afraid of what I would meet there. I was afraid of getting lost in it, getting kind of subsumed in my own pain. Like what would happen if I met it? Like I might never come back out of it, was the fear. Later, I discovered that there's no part of ourselves that we have to fear. It's just a part of who we are. It's always there. It's okay. But to go through what they call it a strong determination in Vipassana, after the first 3 days, you have to sit for 1 hour a day, 3 times a day without moving. Okay, I knew of this in advance, so I didn't try to do lotus. I was sitting like a horse style, with pillows and my knees. Like I wasn't trying to be a hero. I was kind of forewarned about it. And those last 15 minutes, painful, physically painful, because it's been 45 minutes, my body had not moved, right? So alarm bells were going off in my head, like, what is this? What did you decide to join? The cult of pain? Like, what if you can't walk again? What happens with your knee? And then your foots go, and what? You're just going to sit? Like, it was in this, my mind just was going nuts from the pain. And of course, 15 minutes went by and I was fine. I could walk, everything, like it was okay. It passed. And this happened the first couple of days. And then the third day, I realized I had really this realization that my mind, yes, I felt physical pain, but my mind was creating suffering. My mind was making me suffer from the stories that it told about the pain that I was feeling. And to be able to experience this on a somatic, on like a physical level, was really profound, because it's not just someone telling me. Like someone can say, it's the stories your mind tells. And it's like, yeah, okay. But to experience it physically, the lesson was really embodied. It went deep. And so it taught me that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I mean, if you're usually spiritual leader, suffering is optional. But I mean, we can choose to lighten our suffering by remembering it's the stories that we're telling. And it taught me that, of course, I can sit with my physical pain, which is very much a way of showing myself that I could sit with all my pain. If I could sit with my physical pain, then of course I could sit with my emotional pain too, and I'd be okay. So it was really profound. It was a profound, and it stays with me to this to this day, catch myself when I'm in a suffering loop, like
Mm-hmm.
my mind's starting to tell stories about what's happening or what could happen, or it's usually about what might happen or what could happen, right? It's not really about what's happening, because what Vipassana invites you to do is when you feel physical pain, get curious about it. Oh, it feels like a burning, like a pulling. Oh, it feels like, just go into it. Just allow it and know that it will pass, because all things do. That's the nature of life. Nothing is permanent. Everything passes. We don't know when, but it will pass eventually.
Yeah.
And it does. So those were a lot of lessons that I still carry with me to this day.
You describe, I want to get into some of your creative processes. So you describe creativity as alchemy, turning lead into gold or shit into fertilizer to help grow pink peonies? Peonies, yes. Can you give me a specific example from your life where you literally transformed something that was painful, speaking of pain, into something beautiful?
Well, I think the universe helps. I'm not alone in it. I think the universe gives me opportunities. Sometimes I think we need to be shaken awake. I would like to believe pain is not the only way to realize and to transform, but it's definitely a way that works for a lot of us. I'd like to think that feeling the desire for something different and the pleasure of that could also lead to transformation. But for the majority of us, we need a good shake. We need to be shook up a little bit to create real shifts in our lives. At least that was the case for me. So I remember getting fired. Oh man, I got fired it was my first time getting fired besides as a teenager. And no, I quit that job. I worked at an Orange Julep, and the manager wasn't being very cool. So I remember leaving just right on my shift. But no, that was me leaving. This is my first time getting fired, and I had poured my heart and mind and everything I had into this job, because a lot of other things were going wrong, and it felt like the one thing that I could control and the one thing that society measured as productive and successful, even if everything else felt like it was falling to shit. Like it was like I had this thing. So that when I got fired, I was one of 3 partners building a creative studio. It hit me really, really hard. And I went through, I threw a pity party, and I had a moment where I thought, oh, this is like my ego was not happy about it. I had a lot of feels. I went through a lot of things, and it felt like the worst thing that could have happened. And it didn't take very long for me to realize like that was the absolute best thing that ever could have happened to me. To this day, that was a very pivotal point where the universe kind of put the brakes on the Ferrari that I was speeding through my life with in order to avoid feeling and some of the difficult things that I was facing. And it just put the brakes, and I got thrown through the windshield, and I was left to look at the shards of my life on the ground. And I had to make some very different choices, which is what led to the Trans-Siberian. So I didn't do that transformation alone. That pain, like that life helped me. And I do believe that life does help us. We are in co-creation with life. It might not feel like help. It could feel like, what the heck? What is this? But if we give it some time, and with hindsight, and with a different perspective, I think we can see how it's a portal to transformation. Pain.
Yeah.
So
there's a powerful line from your book, which is that inner shifts create outer transformation, because once you've changed, everything changes. And you sort of said that a little bit earlier. And so when we're talking about these internal shifts, they are almost, from your stories, they are reframings of external events, of you have no control over this thing that's happening outside of you, and yet you have no choice but to react to it or to change the way that you are. And that seems to be a through line in a lot of the stories in your book.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's one of the definitions of creativity. Things will happen to us, things that we have no control over. Circumstances will appear, challenges will be presented, and it's a part of life. But we get to choose how we want to creatively respond. And in that creative response lies our freedom, if you ask me. So it could be a reframe, the way that we look at, sorry, earbud fall. It could be, it could be a reframe in terms of the way we look at something. And it could be a response in terms how we choose to respond to whatever that event might be. You know, it could be how we choose to emotionally respond. It could be an actual action that we take. It could be a reframe of the way that we see that thing that happened. Because when we change the way we see what happened, we change our experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine if you think, well, that happened to me because life is shit and everything is horrible. It's a dog eat dog world. And I mean, how is that going to influence how we behave and what reality we shape? It, of course, will. And if we choose to say, oh, no, that happened, there's like a 2% gift in that shit. I just need to find it. Let me just take a step back and look, let me think if life is working through me, for me, and with me, what's going on here? And maybe I can't see it right away, but I'm going to see it. I'm going to ride with this while honoring how I feel. That doesn't mean that, we reject whatever we're feeling. Because when I got fired, it felt shit. It's okay. Like I needed to go. I need to feel that before I could sort of release that and move through it, right? So it didn't get stuck inside me. So I think that's a through line, at least in the book.
Yeah, it is. It is. And these troubling things that we experience, you sort of, attack a little bit the myth of the tortured artist. And you don't do it explicitly. It's more like an implication of, hey, joy and creativity are supposed to be partners, not the opposites where you need pain to be creative. I really think that's beautiful. Again, it's a reframing and it's a different way of looking at it, because there is a meme that is the tortured artist is the most successful. Look to somebody who has cancer like Jobs, or look to somebody who is cutting off their ear, or any of the famous paintings normally have like this sad sob story that we all sort of look to and go, the tortured artist. And yet you're sort of, you recognize, no, that's just maybe a catalyst for what then the artist does with it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think what's dangerous about the tortured artist is then we believe we have to suffer in order to create great art. And so then what do you think happens with that belief when we believe that?
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to reframe that we get to enjoy the process of creating, and we don't have to be in the depths of a deep depression in order to pull something that has meaning and that leaves a mark in the world. We can use that as our fuel, but we can also experience great pleasure and joy from whatever it is that we're making. It's interesting because I think we've come to equate work, whether you call it self-improvement or art or actual work. It's like, it's gotta be hard. Like, who said that? Like, it doesn't mean there's not a place for passionate, focused work, but who says it has to be blood, sweat, and tears? Well, someone's created that story. It's not handed down from God, right? And that story benefits somebody. Maybe we could start to guess who might benefit from that story, right? People who own shit. Like, So that's what I invite people to do, is like to rethink like what beliefs or AKA scripts or stories are operating in the background, and are they serving or helping or harming you? And if it's helping, great, keep it, keep that one. And if it's harming, then maybe it's time for a rewrite. And not only a rewrite in the actual flipping the script, but also in showing that you actually believe that by behaving in a way that's aligned with that. Because if we don't, we create cognitive dissonance, and then there's disbelief in the system. Like, hey, wait a minute, you said you don't believe work doesn't have to be hard, but then you're working 24/7, right? Then there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
So, when I speak with my clients, usually there could be field work involved, and like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do to forward the learning and, build this thing, and it gets really serious.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll just say, okay, what might make it fun? And then people go, oh. And it's kind of like a reminder that it gets to be fun. Like, you can make it fun. You can do the work, and you can put on your favorite playlist. You can do it outside. You can, get your favorite drink, have a little matcha latte next to you. You can do it with some levity. You can do it driven by passion and trust, and not fear and judgment. We get to choose all those things. That's the thing. We are always at choice. Always that choice.
Yeah.
Such a creative act,
Yeah, absolutely. The story of Sisyphus is something that I had known for a long time, but I never looked into it. And it's this sad sob story of this man who's punished to continually, push a boulder up the hill. And you think, oh, that's the punishment that all humans receive, which is an unending supply of pain and suffering. And only by looking into it did I soon discover, like, oh, the story of Sisyphus, we're supposed to read that story and recognize that was a punishment to Sisyphus because he angered the gods, but that doesn't mean that he's unhappy. The story says nothing about his happiness. It is simply the consequence of his actions. And it actually helps to think about Sisyphus as being somebody who's happy to push the boulder up, because he's being challenged and has an activity to do or a thing that drives him, a sort of purpose. Now, does that mean that I want everyone to, go and do grueling administrative tasks all the time? No, of course not. But if that is your life, finding joy in whatever it is really important, because that happens to be what you need to do at the moment, whether that means, going shopping and you don't want to go to the grocery store, or doing some project that your boss asked you to do on a Friday night at 7 p.m. You do those things because you need other things, right? You need money, you need food to eat, but you can find joy in it. And so I love that.
It's interesting because I think what makes the Sisyphus story so harrowing is the lack of choice, that he has to do this day in and day out. Like, there's no choice about it. He can't go one day and go, I'm not rolling up that rock. He has to do it every day. And I think for me, that's sort of the moral of the story in some way, is remembering that if it feels like you're pushing up a rock, like, the gods are not punishing you. Like, you have a chance to put the rock down and think about what else you might like to be doing. And I think it's that choice that feels very fulfilling for us as humans, because we get to grow. We get to go, well, I know what this rock thing is. Like, I do it all the time. Like, I'm ready to make a different choice and grow, even though that's going to require courage to go into something new. So I think that's another part of it that's important to remember. And it doesn't mean it's easy, but it's damn fulfilling.
Yeah. I can't help but think that Sisyphus probably wants to push the boulder up. That was his bet with Hades, was that he could push the boulder up the hill and then he would be able to leave the underworld. And so clearly he wants to do so. He wants to leave, so that's what he's doing. You just can't ever.
But do you think he wants to do that in perpetuity? Like,
I think he believes that he can
tricked.
do it. After he tricked Death itself, Thanatos, and Hades, he's a trickster himself. I don't know if he believes that he can't do it, and that's maybe another part of it. Is he thinks he can do this impossible feat, and so he tries and he tries and he tries.
And what do you think is driving him?
A desire for perhaps. I just had a wonderful conversation with Hussein Halleck, and in my conversation with him, he talks about the someday doctrine, where you're living for something in the future, and when you get to that thing, that's when you'll be happy. And I think that Sisyphus is living by a someday doctrine to some extent, and in another part, he could walk away. There's nothing in the rules, quote unquote rules, right? This is a myth. But there's nothing in the rules that says he can't put the boulder down and walk away. So he must be choosing to do it every day because he wants to.
Fair point.
It's an interesting twist.
Fair point. Sounds a
Yeah.
bit like ego to me.
Oh, it might very well be.
You know what I mean? Like, look at me, I can do this. Watch, I'm gonna do it every day, even if I don't want to. Like, I don't know. That's what came through to me. But who knows? As you said, it's a myth.
Yeah.
But I do agree with what Hussein said. Like, and I try very much to be aware of that in my own life. You know, to hold both, right? To hold having gratitude for all that's here right now, all that I am and all that I have, while I'm also yearning and curious about who I'm becoming and what's coming next.
Yeah.
And to make sure that I don't slip into just the yearning part, because then I'm in the scarcity trap, right? Then I'm just in this, oh, one day I'll have this. And right now, and to balance that, it's also anchoring in like, yeah, this is good. This is really, really good. And I have, and I'm excited about what's coming. So I think I just felt like throwing that into our ring, because I very much feel inspired by that too, and very aware of not falling into that scarcity trap.
Yeah. You identify yourself, and you said a little bit earlier, you identify as having a complex trauma history, yet you want to resist being labeled or boxed in by that. How do you balance acknowledging your past and not letting it define your creative potential?
Ooh, that's a great question, Kyle. I don't feel like I've let my past define me. Actually, I kind of struggled with my editor on that one, because she said, you must acknowledge, like, some of this stuff was traumatic. I'm like, yeah, I guess. But she's like, but it's also important to, to bring that forth. And I said, yeah, okay, I can acknowledge it, but it doesn't have to. If I write that down, I'm going to also write that I don't allow myself to be defined by it, because I feel like that's also limiting, at least for me. So I don't know if I'm born with this. There's some research that talks about some people are predisposed for more optimism. I don't know. But since I was a kid, maybe it's a coping / defense / survival mechanism, but it's that the sun will come out tomorrow. It's, there's something else, there's an adventure here, there's something good, and I'm going to move towards that, and I'm going to open to all that's here, and I'm really glad to be alive. Like, I'm happy to be here, kind of thing. Even when tough shit has happened, there's something within me that's built resilience, and some of it has to do with a certain amount of not looking back sometimes, and looking forward, and hence me grounding in the present, learning. That's the new practice. So I don't think it limits me, because I don't allow it to, in the way that I can acknowledge. I'm in therapy. I've been in therapy for 10 years or something, and I love her. She's fantastic. She's in the book, Christina, and I've worked through a lot of different things and continue to with her. So I do acknowledge it, but I don't allow it to set definitions about who I am and what I can achieve or what I can do, or to be limited by those definitions, because I get to choose how I define myself and my trauma. God damn it.
At the end of certain chapters in the book, there is field work, and you had mentioned that you work with some of your clients, you have field work with them. How is it that you went about choosing the field work to include in the book? And I'm asking this because I found some of the fieldwork examples and practices not only practical, but very wise, because I did it. I mean, sometimes I'll read those fieldwork pieces and I'll be like, oh, this is cool. But some of them I did, and I was like, okay, this is making me think about my life or my immediate needs a little bit differently. And like, I wouldn't have expected that.
That's really wonderful to hear. I chose those particular pieces of fieldwork based on two things. One, when I went through coaching certification and worked with a coach myself, I remembered the questions and explorations that hit hardest with me and that really resonated and led to my own shifts. So that was one part. And then the second part was working with my clients. I've come to see what resonates with them and what shakes them up in the best of ways. And I've gotten so much insight and feedback from their experiences that I was able to draw from our kind of shared experience to identify what I felt were the most powerful actions and reflections one could take to shift into creative mindset.
Yeah. When you're working with your client, there's a collaboration, whether they're aware of it or not. And partnership and collaboration are a big piece of what you consider to be the creative act, right? We're moving away from the not only tortured artist, but the lone artist who does everything by themselves. Things are more creative, and there are, the red herrings of, oh, this one person did this incredible thing. We might have like a couple dozen of them throughout history, but most breakthroughs in life are from teams. And so how is it that you encourage your clients to recognize that?
Well, before I answer that question,
Yeah.
actually, if you look back historically, even those figures that seemed like lone geniuses were not. I mean, we stand on the shoulders of giants right out the gate. There's so much that we are born into and that we learn and that we absorb and that we beautifully profit from, whether it's a toaster or something else, from the ideas and creativity of those that came before us. And then we build off that. So that's a perspective, I think, that's important to remember. And then even the quote unquote lone geniuses worked with partners and other people, whether it was Steve Jobs, or Einstein, who was in Switzerland. He was at it's not the IP office, I'm forgetting, but he went through a lot of different ideas and inventions for patents. He worked in a patent office, there's a word, before he moved on and became Einstein, the man that we know him as today. And he was absorbing all of those ideas and information. So it's like we are a constant co-creation, whether with people living or dead. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
To assume that we are a lone genius, that it just comes from us alone. Also, life is working with us, right? I believe is I think a fallacy that can be proven to be one. I mean, the evidence is there. And it can be dangerous too, because it can stop us from creating, because we think, oh my God, how am I going to do this thing? I have no idea. And it almost stopped me from writing a book, because I thought, I don't have a pipe or a log cabin somewhere. And I don't know how I would just write a whole entire book by myself. Ooh. So it kind of stopped me. And then of course I don't have to write a book by myself. You have editors who help you. You go through the process. It's still your writing and your work, but you have seasoned professionals who you spar with, who give you inspiration, who tell you when you might not be, or at least for me, my editor is like, oh, I think you're writing from the perspective of an old version of yourself there, and who supply mirrors. And I mean, it's all a beautiful co-creation. We just need to watch the end of a film to see that. I mean, how many names roll through those credits? So I just wanted to put a line underneath that. And so with my clients, I don't know if they really need reminding, because they've chosen to partner with me. You know what I mean? So they sort of have that spirit already, that they're open to that. And when I did my coaching certification years ago, I remember the supervisor said something along the lines of, you can only coach people who are coachable, which sounds obvious, but what that means is who are open to getting coached.
Yep.
And even though you might think, well, wouldn't everyone that comes to a coach be open? No, actually, you can tell when someone is actually not open to the process. And coaching is just another way of saying a collaborative process, or, yes, collaborative creative process. So I think people that I work with already have that mindset, or have that in that partnership, collaborative spirit within. Otherwise, you wouldn't partner with me. And I've yet to partner with someone who's not coachable. So that's it.
Maybe you're weeding them out pretty well.
Maybe.
Yeah. Are there clients that sometimes would, reach out to you, ask for coaching, and you decide not to work with them? And if so, what is it that pops out in your mind as things that lead to that decline?
Okay, I'm thinking back in my mind to like who did. I mean, I have quote unquote chemistry calls now. So I don't actually do the coaching and the chemistry call. We just like talk about what it is that they're looking to create together. And, we feel for an energetic alignment. And in that conversation, we can usually tell if we're a fit, and B, if they're kind of coachable. And people that I haven't worked with usually comes from someone who wants answers from me about how to do something. Like
Almost
they
like
want either advice
Yeah.
or they want, and look, for some projects, if it's mostly a creative project and they're looking for someone to come help co-create the brand strategy and the narrative and the story, yes, that's a different territory that I'm in. So they're going to look to me for my creative direction and advice. But if it's coaching, if someone wants answers from me or advice from me, then that's usually not a fit, because my job really, when I'm creatively coaching anyone, is to help them find their own answers. That's what I'm here to do, because my answers are mine. They work for me, but they're not going to work for anybody else. Doesn't mean we can't learn from each other. Sure, we can. But when it comes to trying to figure out the vision you have for the life you want to live and what it is that you're looking to create in the world, that really has to come from you.
Yeah. So much like a therapist. My wife would love that answer.
Well, I think a lot of us, and myself included, when I first started my business, because it was new, like look to other people to find out how they did it. Oh, what was the template, or what did you do here? What was your path to sales? And I think that's kind of normal in the beginning. But at some point in time, I think I realized that I need to design my own way, because that's what's going to bring me fulfillment, and that's what's going to bring me the kind of business that I want to, like, that's what's going to lead to the kind of business I want to build and the kind of life I wanted to support ultimately. And that's actually where I think our success lives, is when we do things because of who we are, not in spite of. That's a courageous road to travel, because it's going to look different. It's going to look different from what anyone else out there is doing. And that could lead to the feeling of, am I doing this right? Right? Like, why no one else is doing it? But to me, that's a wonderful signal. It doesn't look like anyone else. Fantastic. That means you're finding your own way. And that takes a lot of chutzpah.
Yeah. Yes, it does. There's something too in there about identity. And so I'd like to flip it from your clients back onto you, in terms of, you talk about yourself as a shapeshifter and someone who wears many different types of outfits. So when you think about all of the outfits that you've worn throughout your life, sometimes you say in your book how I'm forgetful of who I am as an individual because I'm so used to wearing these outfits. How do you move from the outfit that you're wearing, whether it be for external validation or to achieve something like you put on an outfit during an interview, back to the self?
Well, first, it's meeting yourself daily, or meeting myself daily. So making sure that I create spaces and moments to just meet myself, be with myself. And that will look different to everyone. For me, that looks like meditation. That looks like movement. The body holds so much wisdom. I think when you move, there's so many things that kind of percolate and come up. It's another way of grounding into yourself. And it looks like free writing and journaling in the morning. Wink to Julia Cameron's morning pages. It's powerful, because it's like, okay, what am I feeling? What's going on? What's present for me? It's really getting back in touch with you. So that's your original form before going out into the world or worrying about what other people might need, getting clear on what it is that you need. And I think it's a daily practice.
Yeah.
That's one way that helps me come back to my original form every day. But I've learned a lot from the days of shapeshifting. So it's been I think we're always coming home, because we're always also in a process of growth and becoming. And how much is up to us. So in a way, there's like always a homecoming, because, what version of me am I meeting today? But based on my own growth, not based on what I think other people need from me or other people need to see. And that's a very different shift. So maybe that's it. I like that twist on shape-shifting. So it's like shape-shifting as to meet yourself as you grow and become like the next version of you, rather than shape-shifting to meet other people where they are, or what you think they might need or want from you, or what you might need to be successful.
Right. The shape-shifting, I as I'm reading it in your stories, I can't help but think about internal family systems, IFS. It's a modality. You're shaking your head. Yes. Okay, great. So you've heard of it. Have you ever practiced it before?
I haven't practiced it before, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. It's this very interesting idea that linguistically we like to talk about, oh, there's a part of me that wants to go out tonight, or there's a part of me that, wants to stay in and watch a movie. And so recognizing that we can lean into that language and say, okay, well, there are multiple parts of you, and the internal family system that you have is many versions of yourself that all come forward to do a specific thing. I don't want to butcher any more of the modality by explaining it. But the shape shifting that do you find that sometimes without even thinking about it, you do move from the self to one of those different, outfits that you've worn before, and that sometimes it's helpful to do that? Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. Think, again, I think when something is out of balance, it moves from being a gift to potentially a curse. So when shape shifting is in balance for me, it looks like being able to still be me, but maybe put on a different shirt with someone else in order to connect with them. So it's like moving around. I went to like 8 different elementary schools and high schools or something like that together. It taught me how to read a room, how to read, also coming from a chaotic childhood, how to read a room, read an environment, and feel into people to understand like how I needed to be in order to be safe or survive or successful, or all three in those environments with those people. But as an adult, I'm able to, I feel, take that and make it into sort of the gift of being able to connect with different people by being able to don a shirt they might recognize while still remaining true to who I am. And I love that. I mean, that feels like a superpower for me. I'm able to do that. When I'm out of balance and I have my whole outfit is changed and I don't recognize myself anymore because I'm trying too hard to fit into a place or an environment to feel safe usually, and or become successful in that environment, whatever that looks like, then I know that becomes a curse, right? Mm-hmm. But luckily, it's been a long time since that. I feel like it's been a long time since that happened. If I'm out of balance, it's maybe like one piece of clothing too much, and then I can readjust.
When you recenter yourself, you move every day, you meditate every day. What is the specific meditation that you practice? And what are the movements that you do? Is it, working out, yoga, bike riding, walking, running?
Meditation. Oh, did I mute? No. Okay, good. I used to do like, sorry, people, I'm struggling with my new earbuds. I've never found a pair of like earbuds that fit into my ear, and I have tried so often. So like every time I smile, it like kind of moves up. Anyway, meditation. So meditation, I used like Vipassana. It's very much body scanning, but I found that scanning my body all the time through meditation. When I was meditating before I did Vipassana, there's some can get to a very quiet space usually, and in that silent, calm space, it feels like home to me. So that is usually how I just sit. And if my mind, doesn't mean my mind doesn't get busy, I just observe it like, oh, she's busy today. Like that's one of those days, and that's okay. And I laugh at myself. I have my own inside joke. It's like when I'm journaling after I meditate, I think to like, well, today while meditating, this idea came up, like this thought came up. And it's also a way of poking fun. Like sometimes it can be very quiet, and other times things pop up and they come and go. So there is a name for it that I'm not remembering. Non-something meditation. Like I'm not focused on anything in particular. I'm just being with my breath and returning to it whenever my mind wanders. But I actually just sit. Then I might do a guided meditation here and there because those are nice. But it's always like at least 20 minutes of just sitting quietly. But movement, but biking, walking, and I do this thing. I used to do yoga a lot, but I really missed a harder core. That did CrossFit. That was hardcore. So I wanted to try to find something that allowed my energy to move.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized how important that is for me. So I do this practice called the class, which is a mindful movement practice, but it has like burpees and jumping jacks and all different types of things. And something happens where I'm literally can move the energy out of me. Some things don't get stuck, like especially emotions. So I find also using voice is really helpful. They do that a lot, like, like really able to make sounds. Like we were born without language, but we're born with vocal cords, we're with voice, you know, and guttural sounds. And I think we get disconnected from just being able to make sounds. So being able to just scream, shout, growl, whatever I'm doing is a great way of also like moving energy. And sometimes people ask me like, what's a quick way to get unstuck, whether it's, you know, creatively or energetically? It's like, move your body.
Yeah.
Like, but not like real, like movement, like something that really gets your heartbeat up, you know?
Yeah.
Do 10 burpees, see what happens. I promise you, something will shift, you know? It's just really, really immediate for me, at least. And it's really powerful way of shifting energy.
Yeah. The functional movements then is what really gets it going. That's what I'm gathering. So if you were to go back in time and meet your younger self, what are some of the things that you would try to give to her as lessons? You can only just say a few words, no more than 10. What are some things that you would say or try to say?
This might sound harsh, but I don't think I would say anything, because I feel that she had to go through the things that she went through in order for me to become the person I am today. And I really believe that. And I thank her for it. Maybe I'd say thank you. Thank you. I love you. It's going to get better. I think that would be my message. You know, thank you. I love you. Don't worry. It's going to get better. But because, yeah, I think there's a beauty in accepting that everything that you went through brought you to who and where you are today. And once you start to fall in like or in love with who you are today, you kind of really welcome everything that it took to bring you here. And if I would have changed, I would give her advice that would change something, well, then I would be changed, right? Maybe she had to go through those things. I believe she did. And I know they were tough, but she can do it. She did it. She's all right. She'll get there.
Yeah. A final question for you. What is one question that if you could ask the world to have them think about how they can level up, what question would you ask?
Oh my God, how they would level up. Okay. You might recognize this one. Basically it would be this, like in your wildest imaginings, where are you in 1 year from now? What are you doing? Who are you with? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What do you taste? What does it feel like? What does it look like? And then I would ask, don't only create one timeline, create three. 3 possible futures that you would absolutely love to inhabit. They'd be like, yes. And I believe when we're creating what we're really called and drawn to create and make real in the world, not only do we level up, but I was going to say vibrate higher. I'm going to say it, whatever it sounds like. We vibrate higher and we raise our collective frequency. And I believe the things that we create will make an impact in the world. All of my clients have that as a red thread, you know, that they want to create whatever that their next dream, business, creative venture, whatever it might be, in order to create an impact, positive impact. So I think our leveling up is connected. And the reason why I say 3 different possible timelines is because what stops a lot of people from dreaming is the idea that, oh no, if I think of this like future, this one future, then I'm going to have to do it. And if I don't get there, then I'm going to be a failure. And then, oh my God, the expectation, oh, forget about it. I'm not even going to think about it. And so what the 3 timelines does is it's like, it doesn't have to, it's not a plan. It's not a plan. It's a dream. There are ideas. It's an experiment that allows you to get curious about yourself and to see what you're being called to do, what you're being drawn to. And then you just get to play. And then once you've crafted those 3 possible timelines, 3 possible futures, you discover something about yourself and what you're really yearning to create next.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You have a wonderful newsletter, a website I'm going to put in the show notes. If anybody wanted to reach out to you, what are the best avenues for them to do so?
The best way to reach out to me is to go to homebasecollective.studio. That's where you can book a chemistry call. You can find out more about the book, sign up for the newsletter. It's all there.
Okay.
And I'd love to meet you and to have you. So welcome.
Whoever's.
Welcome to the Creative Club.
There you go. Welcome to the Creative Club.
All right. Thank you so much, Pia.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for listening to How You Level Up. If you're enjoying the show, subscribe and give a 5-star rating. There are new episodes each month asking questions about timeless communication lessons. Language is a medium for sharing, and the knowledge unpacked here can be applied to anyone, anywhere, facing any challenge. If there's a question or topic you'd like me to dive into next, send a note to any of my connected social media accounts. This is all about how you level up.